Hey everyone, welcome back to The Road to Superman. This is episode 89, and it has been a while since we had a new Superman update. 11 days since the last piece of Superman news released, and this further indicates that they are going down the Barbie route for promotion. However, today we do have a brand new behind the scenes image, but we also have this really strange and controversial, I wouldn't call it a plot leak because I don't think it reveals a lot from the movie, but it is a rumored small subplot in the film, and it sounds very divisive. The only reason I am mentioning it is because I accidentally read it, but after reading it, I am thinking it doesn't really ruin the movie at all for me. So I'm going to share it with you guys, but I will give you a big warning beforehand, so those of you who don't want to hear about it can stop the video before I talk about it. But first, let's talk about the new image that we have. It's of Superman and Lois in Metropolis with quite a lot of destruction going on around them. Now, I believe this may be towards the end of the movie, perhaps once Superman has saved the day, but I could be completely wrong. The beauty of little promotion is that we have very little to work from and makes things very difficult to predict. But just based on the destruction around them and the facial expressions from them both, feels like whatever has happened is now over, and Lois is wearing the same outfit she does in the trailer when she is kissing Superman, so I imagine this is after the final battle and they are happy and celebrating. And as for how the two characters look, I think they look great. Lois is in a very Lois Lane outfit, especially the colors, and I think the Superman suit looks really good in this shot. My only issue with it would be the collar that looks strange from this angle. I don't know what it is, but it just looks off. But that's really only a nitpick. Other than that, I really love the way the suit looks here. But now it is time to talk about this really strange rumor that has come out about the movie. So if you don't want to hear about it, here is where you should end the video. Now, this rumor comes from My Time to Shine, who is kind of hit and miss, but they did get the Superman suit description exactly right before the first image was revealed. So it is important to note that they do have some reliability, but I would definitely not take this as a fact. They also do seem to not exactly love what Gunn is doing and loves to engagement farm, so this could be one of those, so take it with a grain of salt. So the report claims a bizarre and rumored plot for James Gunn's Superman has surfaced online, which claims the Man of Steel gets dragged into the world of cancel culture. In the leak, it's claimed that James Gunn sets up Superman to be battered by social media hate, which apparently makes the Man of Steel feel sad. No, we're not joking. It's further claimed that James Gunn uses a super hashtag in the movie which trends and damages Superman's image. But the real twist? Lex Luthor is behind it all, using an army of mutant monkeys at keyboards to flood and trolls the internet and tears down Superman. Now, this does sound bizarre, and I'm a firm believer in not jumping to conclusions and listening to both sides to then work out the most probable or fair answer, but on the internet, people are just saying this is either the worst thing that Gunn could have ever done to Superman or a very realistic thing that Superman would have to deal with. So neither side has really helped me with this, but my instinct was that this sounds weird, but it all depends on the execution of it. Because it sounds like a wacky idea, but also a very probable thing that would happen in today's society. One look at social media and you will see people defending bad people and criticizing good people. With social media, the norms of what is good and evil are kind of skewed. Accountability rarely exists online, so people can say anything and be heard, and there are a lot of easily influenced people out there. So a stupid hashtag and hate towards the most purely good superhero out there is a realistic possibility and something I can definitely see happening. However, it then turning out to be coming from Luthor, who was an army of mutant monkeys typing away at keyboards, is the part that I feel ruins that message. It goes from a subtle and fair representation of society online to just a cheap dig at those who you don't agree with, and feels like Gunn would be trying to attack those who have been hating on him since becoming co-head of DC. But some have also connected this to Gunn having a dig at cancel culture. He himself was cancelled and fired by Disney for his horrific tweets he put out 10 plus years ago, and some are connecting the mutant monkeys on keyboards to potentially Gunn's views on cancel culture. And if he did put something like that into his film, then that would be catastrophic. I don't like talking about things like this because I want to focus on the movies themselves, as that's what I'm passionate about, but I think he was rightfully fired for what he did. So if this turns out to be all true and there's nothing out of context or exaggerated, then this would be an absolutely horrible thing for Gunn to do. It would show he hasn't learned from what he did and actually is defending himself and shoving that into a Superman movie. But I don't think he is. Like I mentioned, My Time to Shine does like to stir the pot to increase increase engagement and hate, and I think this might be one of those cases. I think it is either completely made up, and when it's not in the film they will claim it must have been cut, or it's an exaggeration or out of context, which makes it sound far worse than it actually is, which drives up engagement. Having this kind of subplot would outdate this movie very quickly, and I also think it would divide your audience massively. And with DC Studios being created to try and unite and grow the DC fanbase, doing this kind of thing in your movie would be the complete opposite of what you'd want to do. So I'm going to say I think Superman does get hate online in this film, and it looks like it happens in person as well, but I think the part about Lex Luthor with mutant monkeys is false, exaggerated, or completely out of context. It would make sense for Luthor to use his influence to create hate for Superman, and social media would be a really easy and powerful way of doing that, but mutant monkeys feels way out of place and potentially insulting. I saw some complaining about this for other reasons, saying they watch movies for escapism and not social commentary on today's issues, and that's completely fair. I actually think many movies have social commentary on today's issues, but present them in a way that is subtle and doesn't feel like a lecture, but other films also do feel just like massive lectures on today's society. But I do get what they mean. Sometimes people just like to watch movies to escape from the real world struggles and issues, and if a movie like Superman then goes back into the real world with these issues, I can understand why some may find that difficult to enjoy. But I will have to see how it is executed in the film, if it actually exists. Like I said, the only reason I am talking about this is because I accidentally read it as someone didn't put a spoiler warning on it, and I thought it was a quote from an interview, but it wasn't, and I thought maybe some others made the same mistake I did, and so I thought it would be important for me to address this in today's video. And with the internet, people have agendas, and so those who want this movie to fail will believe anything bad about this film because it pushes their agenda. And whilst this could be true, realistically it's probably a half-truth at the most, missing major context that makes this far less outrageous than it originally sounds. So I thought it would be important for me to break this rumor down and address how believable it actually is. But a huge criticism of this film so far has been about how so much of the promotion is just about James Gunn. Before making the movie, James Gunn said he relates to Superman because he is everything he is. The trailer starts with saying from James Gunn, the behind the scenes video starts with talking about how James Gunn came up with this movie, with not much talked about Superman, and the poster has James Gunn's name as a big focus on it. And now people are hearing this rumor and thinking maybe this whole film is just one big ego trip for James Gunn. But in all honesty, whilst that could be the case, I find it very easy to debunk those theories. Whilst I was taken aback when Gunn said he relates to Superman because he is everything he is, the trailer starting with saying he is the one making the film and he made the Guardians of the Galaxy films is completely normal. When you have a director who has made very successful films, you add that to your trailers so audiences know that this new film is made by a director who made these films that you also loved. It's plain and simple marketing. The same goes for the poster. Most movies where they have directors who made popular movies before will let you know who made this film because their name has a pull factor and reputation. So the Superman movie doing the same for Gunn is not from an egotistical perspective, but rather simple marketing. As for the behind the scenes video, I do wish we heard them talk more about the plot of the movie, but at the same time, with the Barbie technique they are going with, they want to keep that information as mysterious as possible. So when they do market the movie through a trailer, it is a big surprise and has major impact. So I get yet again why they are talking about their big director and how they decided to make this film, rather than talking about the plot of the movie. They probably should have talked about Superman a bit more, but they showed a lot of him. So for me, that was enough for the time being. Maybe it does boost Gunn's ego, but honestly, who cares? Because this is just marketing. Gunn is a big director in the superhero genre. You need to let people know that the guy who made the super successful Guardians films is now making a Superman movie. So I don't think this film is all about James Gunn. I think they are marketing the movie well, and those who don't like this either don't like Gunn and are cherry picking, or just don't realize that most movies do this kind of thing with their directors. But let me know your thoughts on this new rumored subplot leak, and if you think Gunn is too much at the focus of this movie, in the comments below. Now, the final thing to mention is the trailer. It looks like May will be the month for the first full proper trailer, and I am so excited for it. I think fans will be needing something like that soon, and I want to see a bit more dialogue from the characters and a bit more from later on in the film if possible. Just a small look at something brand new that we haven't seen parts of in the footage so far. So look forward to May for the first full trailer. But that is all for today's episode of The Road to Superman. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an episode. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!